Hello YouTube friends, Ben Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Under a recent video entitled Max Color, one of you, Paul Barrett, I think I'm pronouncing it right, Paul Barrett from the UK, asked a question about peacocks. He wanted to know what were the peacocks that I would recommend. He asked, Ben, could you do a list of 10 to 15 peacocks, male only, that are compatible? I have a 150 gallon. Thanks from the UK. So first of all, one thing that you have to keep in mind with peacocks and really any African cichlid is that compatibility is really a luck of the draw. It's a roll of the dice. And even with peacocks, and even with the peacocks I'm going to suggest, you might end up with what I call a jerkfish. That's not uncommon. But I do have some that over the years, my experience with them has led me to believe that they are more on the peaceful side of the Lake Malawi fish, in particular the peacocks. So let's go ahead and get into that list right now. One of the things I love about cichlids in general is how they interact. Check out how these fish. It's like a magic wand. Yeah. At any rate, the one thing, by the way, if you're new to the channel and you like the content in this channel, please be sure to hit that sub button, that bell, that notification bell. And if you like the content, hit that thumbs up. And that helps the channel to grow. And it also sends a message to the analytics that control YouTube that something good is going on. And it encourages YouTube to put us in front of other fish keepers. So if you can do that, please, it would be very, very appreciated. Thank you. So let's talk about the peacocks that I would suggest. One of them is in this tank. This tank here is primarily what you would call haps or predator fish. They're not what you would call peacocks necessarily, except for a couple of them. And one of them is this one here. This is the Bicolor 500. Beautiful, beautiful fish. That is what you would call a peacock. Doesn't get that big, about 5 inches, and he is the first one on the list, the Bicolor 500. Beautiful fish, and highly recommended. Rather peaceful. It's been my experience that they don't really get into it too much with other fish. Another fish I would suggest that I've had before is the ruby red, what is called the ruby red. This is a beautiful, beautiful fish. Has almost a purple face, and one of my favorites. It's called a ruby red, and if you can get your hands on one, get one. They're gorgeous. Another one that I would suggest that I think would get along in this mix is and I've heard sometimes that they might get into it with a Bicolor 500. That has not been my experience. I've found that they can coexist fine, and that is the blue neon, peacock. Beautiful fish, very vibrant colors, beautiful egg spots, blue neon. If you can get a hold of one, get one of those for sure. Another peacock that's a favorite of mine is the Favonescent, a Favonescent peacock. It's a peacock that can change colors, go green, go a little yellow, beautiful coloration in the fins, the anal fin, the dorsal. Very pretty fish. I found them to be very, very, very mellow, not really aggressive. A Favonescent. If you can get your hands on a Favonescent and you're setting up a peacock tank, grab one. Another favorite of mine is a fish referred to sometimes as a Benga sunshine. A Benga sunshine. Beautiful yellow fish. Yellow looks very good in aquariums. I mean, this aquarium here has, except for perhaps the anal fin on the big spot, and maybe a little yellow in the body of the Labradorn or maybe the Bukunono, perhaps maybe a little yellow in the body of the Autopharynx tetrastigma. But yellow is, just a bright blast of yellow in an aquarium, especially with a black background, is going to look amazing. So if you can get a hold of a Benga Sunshine, a yellow Benga Sunshine, get a hold of one of those. Another fish that would be on the list is a German red. German reds, now they can get a little bigger and can be perhaps a little edgier, but overall my experience with German reds has been good. They can come in red. If you get an actual German line or German strain, they can come in very red, but I've also seen them a little bit over into the orange color, but a beautiful peacock, a German red. And a little similar to your ruby, but the ruby, the German red will have the blue face, the traditional cichlid blue face, whereas the ruby red will have more of that purple, the purple in the face. And now, I would mix with those fish. I would suggest that you mix with those fish some Placidochromis. Get a hold of a gazelle, and I would stay away perhaps from the Meduca white lips, the deep water. Those get pretty big. Those get pretty large. But even those can be a little mellow. But a gazelle, a Placidochromis gazelle, that would be a good fish. And also the Johnsoni, which I understand might be getting reclassified. I'm not entirely sure, but the Johnsoni, which I have one in here. He might be hiding in the back. I don't see him. He gets a little bit harassed sometimes, but where is my Johnsoni? Anyway, Johnsonis are gorgeous, and if you can get a hold of a Johnsoni, there he is. He's in the plants in there. But a Johnsoni can be pretty mellow and is a beautiful fish, beautiful finnage on it, and not sure if here he is. Hey, buddy, look at that guy. Absolutely gorgeous. Blues and reds and a beautiful orangey red on the top of the dorsal, a little orange in the tail, very pronounced and big finnage on them. So mix a few Placidochromis in there. If you can get a hold of a Jello Reef, beautiful fish, a blue-green Jello Reef. Now, there are some other fish that you could mix in there that, but I would let all the fish get established before I would bring these in, because you want them to get really settled in and feel comfortable and strong and confident. And then maybe introduce a lemon jake, perhaps, or maybe even an otter point. Some of these from the jake families. Now, they can be pretty edgy. This one I have here, Eureka Red, he's in that same family, and he can be a real jerk. But the Eureka Red, the Eureka Red, I had him classified as a total killer, but mixed in a big group like this, he's actually okay. And I had the group sort of settle in, and then I added him, and it's worked out okay. So if you have that group of peacocks that I've suggested, and then phase in some Placidochromis, and then after they've all gotten really settled in, consider bringing in some of the jakes, like the lemon jake, and maybe an otter point. That might be a nice addition to that collection. Certainly go, and I've learned this the hard way, go with the biggest tank you can. And in your case, I believe based on the message that you sent me, in your case, you're looking at 150 gallons. That's a good size. That's a good size tank. So these fish are going to have a lot of room to get away from each other. And if you have some things to break up the line of sight the way I do, like some plants or some caves or things like that, then they should get along. And but that's my list. You can't go wrong. I mean, a Bicolor 500, a blue neon, a Favonescent, a yellow Benga, all of those gorgeous fish. German red, beautiful fish, and maybe mix in a few Placidochromis, some of the smaller ones like the gazelle, and the Jello Reef, and but there always has to be a disclaimer when you talk about African cichlids, and that's this: at any point, that switch can flip in their head, and they're off to the races. Okay, so anything I say, take it with a grain of salt. Realize that you may have to mix and match. Have another aquarium. You know, I have 2 of them right here. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. 4 extra aquariums in case you have to pull one out right away that's been beaten up too much, or one of them is being too big of a jerk and has to be taken out. So just keep that in mind. That comes with keeping African cichlids. But I'll tell you, if you get a mix that works, I mean, come on. I mean, take a look at this thing. I mean, I'm just having a blast with these guys. I mean, just a tremendous amount of color, a lot of interaction, and just a lot of fun. And with a 150-gallon, you can you've got a lot of choices, a lot of directions you can go into. Initial question was 10 to 15 peacocks, and I didn't give them that many. So I want you folks to fill in the gaps, suggest some peacocks that you have found to be compatible and would be good in a 150-gallon. And I appreciate you helping out with this question. That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you on Saturday at the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. We'll get into fish and food and decor and filtration and everything else that goes with it. Thank you, my friends. See you again soon. Bye-bye.